People used to treat me like I was nothing, a shadow in the bustling halls of Varian Technologies. I was just the daughter of the janitor, an unnoticed girl, quietly sketching circuits in the lobby. But in that stark office environment, amidst the suits and ties, I felt an odd sense of belonging, hiding in plain sight, patiently absorbing everything around me. Then, the calm shattered. A massive tech failure erupted, sending adults into a frenzy. I watched in disbelief as their panic overruled any semblance of order. They tossed around jargon that meant little to them in that moment, while I maintained a quiet confidence, instinctively processing the chaos. My heart raced as I overheard them questioning each other, still too engulfed in their fears to step back and think creatively. "Check for add an overflow loop," I suggested, the words slipping out before I could consider their weight. The room fell silent, disbelief etched on their faces. Yet, Elias, the young engineer, saw something in my words. He stepped forward, urging them to listen to me. With their backs against the wall, they reluctantly watched as I climbed onto a chair, fingers poised above the terminal. I narrowed my focus, decoding the chaotic lines of code. Suddenly, clarity struck. I found the flaw. Attention surged into the space. Marcus, the CEO, observing me with a mix of skepticism and concern. I felt like a little David facing Goliath. But with support from Elias, I pressed on, determined to show them what I was capable of. As I fixed the breach and restored order, the atmosphere shifted from panic to awe. Adults who once ignored me now surrounded me with respect and appreciation. I left a note for Marcus, acknowledging his belief in me when others did not. It was more than just a restored system, it was a moment of recognition. I received my own badge and desk at Varian Technologies, the little girl who had cracked the code finally visible. This experience transformed how I saw myself, from invisible outsider to valued contributor. I realized there are countless overlooked minds waiting to be discovered, just like I was. "Leah, can you stop doodling and focus on something real for once?" Mr. Grayson exclaimed, his voice cutting through the hum of the classroom. The other students snickered, glancing at her and then back at their screens, where spreadsheets flickered with the same dull data. She felt the heat creeping up her cheeks, mumbling, "I'm just sketching circuits." "Because that's going to land you a job," he scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Why don't you try focusing on math instead of these childish drawings?" Suddenly, the classroom door swung open, and her mother, exhausted from a long shift as the night janitor, stepped in. "Mr. Grayson, Leah's drawings show her creativity and potential. You should encourage her," her mother pleaded, a tremor of desperation in her voice. Mr. Grayson crossed his arms. "Creativity won't pay the bills. She needs to learn responsibility, not waste time." His words pierced Leah deeper than a sharp blade. The laughter from her classmates felt like barbs against her skin. "Has anyone ever told you that you're brilliant? Just because I'm hungry for knowledge doesn't make my ambition empty." Leah's voice wavered but held a flicker of defiance. "Ambition?" Mr. Grayson scoffed, shaking his head. "You're too young to understand what that means. Leave the techie talk to adults." Unprotected inside Leah as she retracted, her pencil snapping in her grip like her self-esteem. She wanted to scream, to show them she was more than just a girl drawing circuits in the back of the room. But all she could do was nod, feeling the full weight of the room's expectations pressed down on her like a tight vice. As Mr. Grayson returned to his lecture, she vowed silently to prove him wrong. One day, he would see her not as a child, but a visionary. Quotations-escent lights above flickered intermittently, mirroring the tension in the air. Leah sat on the edge of the lobby chair, her tiny fingers creating intricate designs on the sketchpad resting on her lap. Outside, the sounds of hurried footsteps and raised voices swirled around her, but inside she held tight to her world of circuits and dreams, comfortably ensconced in the anonymity of her surroundings. But the peace shattered abruptly when the room erupted. "The system's down," someone shouted. Panic rippled through the adults, their faces flushed and eyes wide as they exchanged frantic jargon Leah barely recognized. Yet, in the whirlpool of chaos, she remained a silent observer, her heart racing with an unsettling mix of fear and fascination. Amidst the clattering of keyboards and urgent whispers, Leah's eyes darted to the screen, where fractals of code scrolled relentlessly. "Maybe it's a loop," she suggested quietly, her voice almost lost in the cacophony. Laughter broke out, a dismissive, slightly cruel sound, cutting her words short and smoothing over any potential thread of hope. But Elias, an engineer she admired, stepped closer. "Wait," he urged, his voice steadying the laughter. "What if she's right?" Disbelief hung in the air, although Leah felt a flicker of something she rarely experienced: recognition. As she climbed onto the chair, everyone leaned in, skepticism shifting into mild curiosity. While others fumbled, Leah's fingers danced over the keyboard, parsing through layers of chaos. The heightened murmurs muffled. The adults watched with narrowed eyes, a blend of fear, uncertainty, and intrigue probing her. Then, just as a shadow fell over her workspace, Marcus, the CEO, watched her intently, suspicion riddling his expression. Tension thrummed in the room as she paused at the screen, feeling the weight of their eyes and the swirling whirlwind of thoughts crashing inside her mind. Leah stood taller on the chair as she faced the monitor, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with newfound confidence. "If there's an overflow loop," she said, barely above a whisper, "we need to find it before it crashes again." The adults watching seemed to share a collective breath of doubt. Their eyes darted, still filled with panic, but she could feel the slight shift in their demeanor. "I'm just a kid," she added, almost as if to reassure herself. Elias leaned closer, his voice steady. "Let her try. We've got nothing to lose." The others exchanged puzzled glances, but gradually surrendered to Leah's calm, her knowledge breaking through the noise. As lines of code scrolled by, Leah's brows furrowed in concentration. "Right there," she exclaimed, pointing at a string of errors. The tension twisted tighter as Marcus approached, fully prepared to dismiss her efforts. "This isn't a game," he grumbled, crossing his arms. "It's not a game," Leah replied, meeting his gaze unwaveringly. "It's just logic." The words hung in the air, a quiet declaration of her worth. Marcus faltered and Elias stepped up beside her. "She knows what she's doing," he insisted, his tone firm. Leah could feel the rush of clarity wash over her. There was power in being seen, in being believed in. As she executed the final command, the screen flickered and stabilized. The hum of relief swept through the room, and astonishment replaced panic. She turned slowly, allowing herself a small smile. "See? It wasn't that hard." The shift from disbelief to respect was palpable, and Leah realized this small victory signaled the dawn of something greater. Marcus stormed into the chaotic room, the energy thick with tension and disbelief. His gaze swept over the panicked adults, their faces strained from confusion. And there, in the eye of the storm, stood Leah atop a chair, fingers dancing across the keyboard, completely focused. "Get her down," he barked, irritation boiling beneath his surface. "She's just a child." But Elias stepped forward, voice steady. "She's the best shot we have, Marcus. Let her—" Silence hung heavy in the air. Leah glanced up, her wide eyes glinting with determination, and Marcus hesitated. He could see now that something was shifting. The adults, once dismissive, were watching her with a flicker of respect. Leah returned her focus to the screen, typing quicker now, every keystroke punctuated by the keyboard's rhythm. The code sprawled before her like an intricate puzzle, and she could feel the pieces clicking into place. Each line she read revealed more, unraveling the chaotic web that had encapsulated the building. "Wait here," she paused, biting her lip as she located the flaw, her heart racing. Sweat trickled down her temple, but she stifled any anxious thoughts. "I can fix it." Gasps erupted as alarms blared to life, eyes darting between Leah and the screens. She typed furiously, her confidence soaring, while Marcus's expressions shifted from anger to disbelief. No longer a child, she was a genius amidst these towering figures, the chaos receding in the wake of her brilliance. Position, and then, with a final keystroke, the screen stabilized. The room erupted, but Leah stood still, basking in her triumph. Marcus gaped, embarrassment flooding his features as he finally understood. His scorn had been misplaced. "Impressive work, Leah," Elias said softly, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. The sudden shift in his demeanor revealed the depths of her victory. For once, she was seen by those who had overlooked her. Marcus swallowed hard, the weight of his earlier dismissal heavy on his shoulders. He approached Leah, extending his hand, mouth opening to apologize when she caught his gaze and simply smiled, recognition shimmering in her eyes. "I'm just getting started," she whispered, her voice firm with the quiet power of vindication. In that moment, the adults who once dominated this space fell silent, feeling the weight of their previous judgments. Leah didn't need a loud declaration of revenge. Her quiet triumph spoke volumes. She would leave her mark, not through bitterness, but through brilliance, reclaiming her space in a world that had once ignored her. The applause was internal, echoing in their hearts as they watched the future unfold before them. As I look back on that chaotic day, I can hardly believe how far I've come. I started as just the quiet girl in the corner, sketching circuits and dreaming of being part of a world I barely understood. Yet, in the midst of panic and confusion, I found my voice. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong or showing off my knowledge. It was about stepping up when it counted and realizing I could be a part of something bigger. I see now that every experience shapes us, and those moments of chaos transform me, revealing the strength and capability I didn't know I had. The respect I earned, the connections I forged, and the lessons I took away taught me that we all have something valuable to contribute, no matter our age or appearance. So I wonder, do you think I went too far by stepping into a world meant for adults? What would you have done in a similar situation? Have you ever been overlooked, then discovered your own potential? Share your experiences in the comments, and let's explore the fine lines between right and wrong, power and vulnerability together. Your story matters.